This program has been rated mature by the Gaming Radio Network. It is unsuitable for under 18s due to content of an adult nature, which may be classed as offensive to some people.
If I press a button here, we're live on audio. We're not live on video yet, because there's a reason we're not live on video yet, because I need to play something over the bed music in the background, which is this. If I turn the bed music down a bit, you might hear it. Ooh, what's that? That's Mark Morrison. It's Return of the Mac. You know why? He's back. He's out from his self-imposed exile. The man, the myth, the legend, my co-host on this and all the other things that we do, Mr. Dirk McGurk. Dirk, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, what's going on?
Good. So Dirk's back.
Return of the McGurk.
Return of the Dirk McGurk. Yes, so it's all good. This is This Week in New Eden. It is Sunday the 21st of February 2016, and he's just gone 3 p.m. GMT, and it's all good. It's another day, another week. It's time for another show where we talk about EVE Online and gaming and stuff and things. Well, we talk about EVE Online and a lot of EVE Online. I don't want to retweet that. I want to retweet what was before it. Thank you. There we go. Retweet that. Thank you very much. Anyway, let's do this. Now I'm just going to get a ton of retweets and stuff. So good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Hello to Noisy Gamer. Hello to Big Country. And hello to Nexus 7 in the Twitch chat already. In game, we have Oliver Brockmorton. And that's it. It's the only person who said anything in game. It's slow. It's a slow day. It's Sunday. Anyway. So This Week in New Eden, where we talk about EVE Online and stuff and things. So Dirk, how you been? How's it been? I haven't seen you in about a week.
In about a week, yeah. No, it's been some time away. You know, it's been a challenging couple of months. I got to be honest. Yeah, it's. I mean, obviously the New Year's didn't go the way that I had anticipated, and taking some time away from EVE and kind of the EVE media broadcasting and stuff like that. It's been challenging.
Yeah?
I have literally tried to find another game to play, and I've been unable to. I mean, BC and I lately, the last couple of days, have been playing the beta of The Division.
Yeah.
That has actually grabbed me. I'm really looking forward to it coming out. I have literally not been able to find any sort of replacement for the depth and breadth of EVE. I mean, this instance-based stuff does not grab me. This short-term, inconsequential kind of stuff. There's something about EVE that it's just not out there anywhere else. I mean, it cannot be replicated.
Exactly. It's that game you can't.
Or it hasn't been.
Yeah, it hasn't been replicated. It's just the thing with EVE Online. It's one of those games that people say, "Oh, you pick up, you play, you come back, you do this, you do that," and it's just. The game is the game. It's how it is. It's never going to change. It's always going to be the way it is. You're always going to have the things that you do and stuff how it is, and you know, and apparently my webcam, Skype can't show my webcam, even though it can. Fuck you, Skype, telling me you can't do that. There we go. I know you can because it's loaded. It's Skype being Skype. No way. It's anyway. It's beautiful, beautiful Skype. It couldn't find the webcam earlier on. Anyway, Eve's Eve.
I was really hoping that while I was away, I was almost hoping that I was going to be away long enough to completely have missed this entire kind of CSM election stuff and whatnot, because I feel like it's sort of a deja vu type thing, but it's sort of blown up again, and while I've been lurking in the shadows, reading and whatnot, it's been okay, yeah. I'm bored. I'm really not playing games. I'm not talking about the stuff that I really like to talk about with the people that I like to talk about it with, and and finally it just became one of those things where it's like, okay, I still don't yet know what it is that I really truly want in EVE, because the game has changed around me, and I'm trying to find that sort of thing that I want to do. But I still love the world. I love the world, and I love the people, and I love all these things about it. It's just yeah.
It is. It's one of those things. It's just how we want to do with gaming and deal with it, and that's what you do. You play the games, you do the games, and that's how it is. And I'm sorry if everyone on Twitch, if the video quality is just going to crap for some reason. You know what? I'm going to restart my Skype connection. I'll restart Skype. So it's being a bit stupid. So I will call you back on Skype in a second, Dirk, but we'll carry on with the audio on the show because Skype's being a bit annoying. So I'm going to close that, restart Skype because it's Skype. You know, we all know how Skype is. It can be great, or it can just even though it's not open, it's now still using like 50% CPU usage. So thank you, Microsoft. Thank you for making a great product. That doesn't want to work. But anyway, let's close it and restart it. Anyway, let's get on with this. So yes, the CSM Summit has been ongoing this weekend, or this past week. And there have been some interesting things with it. There has been a what's it called? A boycott of it by Sion Kumitomo, which
yeah, go ahead.
I would say, which I'd say is understandable for, you know, the issues, the stuff that's been going on with it, you know, because of the way that he feels has been excluded. I think maybe, but potentially with the whole drama, can he run, can't he run, all this stuff and all that. It's been weird. It's been very, very weird.
Yeah, for him, I think it's a it's a little more personal, just because of this new wording of the white paper. Mm-hmm. But it's much bigger than that too. I mean,
yes.
Obviously, I don't like the term. I mean, he used it, so it's so it's his term. But the boycotting of it or whatever, right? Mm. I mean, I think it was just for various reasons, I'm just not going.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but the deeper part of it, and a lot of people focused on the fact of him not going. Ricks was focused on, oh well, you're just quitting, and I hate quitters, and other people out there focused on Sion, as opposed to being focused on the underlying issues that are way, way, way more than just Sion.
Yeah.
But because Sion is a lightning rod, and has been more of a lightning rod, especially with his written communications out there and things like that. In the past 3-4 months, the focus goes on him. And for anybody who truly cares about the CSM, I mean, there's a lot of people out there who take a lot of pleasure in the in how bad it's gotten, and in these types of things from kind of a Schadenfreude perspective. For anybody who does care about it, the focus here isn't Sion, because other people will corroborate what it is he has to say related to just how it's fundamentally broken.
Oh no! Again,
and how it really destroyed itself this year. I mean, this term was by far the worst not in terms of the people that were on it, okay, but just in terms of how it all broke down.
Yeah, just what Noisy says in the Twitch chat. Since we both fly out of Iceland, fly to Iceland out of Chicago, he knows how badly it is. They screwed up the travel arrangements worse than Sugar. And I agree, some of the travel arrangements have been messed up, and it's one of those things, is it a last minute thing? Is it an early thing? You've got to look at it that way. Okay, I personally think that maybe CCP could make it better. You could have a better, arrangement of stuff. You could get the stuff out there better. You could do it better. But hey, it's a business. It happens. Sometimes it fucks up. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's bad. What are you going to do? But
yeah, I mean, I don't think he didn't go because of the travel arrangements.
No.
I think he personally didn't go because of his feelings towards this thing, whether or not it was targeted specifically at him, or just he's the only one that has the circumstance related to this. I think that was a piece of it, but I think there was also this other piece of the entire term has been a shambles. I don't want to say the entire term. Certainly from kind of what I'll call the Manny episode onwards has been a shambles. And look, Sion is one of those people who I think was very much tied to trying to reform the CSM, put a structure in place that is much more robust for just how it's going to operate. Right? I mean, whatever they determine is how it's going to just put a structure in place. Let's call it, constitutional Congress type stuff, right? I mean, where just fundamentally getting down to this isn't working. We need to put in place a thing that will help it work. Now, I don't particularly support his idea that he threw out there about CSM managed focus groups, but he was at least trying to do something to make something that's not working appropriately hopefully work better, not just for him, not just for this term, but for ongoing. And that was one of the things that we've been talking about for it feels like a couple of years now. I mean, me, you, BC, all kinds of people out there, right? Talking about the fact that the white paper needed to be rewritten. It was. I don't think that it was rewritten to any degree that has helped the situation. It just, it cut out that homework assignment part of it that was there. But fixing it so that it doesn't matter who comes in as CSM members. It doesn't matter who the CSM administrator is, whether it was Dolan, Lilu, or now Guard, or whoever else it might be in the future. That you have an organizational structure in place that this is how it operates, and no matter who comes in that's different on either side of the equation, this is how it goes.
Yeah, and this is it. You look at the CSM, as you said, exactly as it is. Guard and Logibro are going to have their way of running the CSM. Lilu had her way of running the CSM before her, with help from Falcon. And before him, Dolan had his way of running the CSM. However, the CSM is still it's a living entity.
It's a work in progress. I mean, it's always going to be somewhat of a work in progress, right? I mean, and it should be able to adapt to the changing environment. But I want to say to some extent that changing environment shouldn't so much be, well, at one point you were relevant and now you are not.
Well, no,
because if that's the case, then it has no reason to exist.
Exactly. To point out to Caleb Ambria in the Twitch chat, says admin and bad chairman issues. I would expect the chairman would keep the comms flowing at all times. Well, the fact that they got rid of chairs in CSM 9, they got rid of all the officer positions then, and that was the first term that Lilu was in, wasn't it? CSM 9 was her first. She had 9 and 10, and 9 they got rid of all the officer positions, which maybe they'll bring them back for 11. We don't know. At the end of the day...
I mean, I don't see that happening. I don't see them bringing it back. I don't see that the people on there wanting to get behind... There was a time when the officer positions provided... Well, I think that the reason why they were put in place was it provided a bit of a firewall between CCP, the devs, and the broader CSM. Now, mind you, at that time, there were only 7 people on the CSM. There wasn't the 14 that we have today. But what it was that communication flowed from the CSM through the officer positions to CCP and then vice versa, right? So the devs and everybody didn't have to be responsible for talking to each individual on there. Well, it's changed, it's evolved. I don't see it going back to anything. CCP was far less communicative back then than they are today, and I don't just mean to the broader public, I mean just in general. So the early stages were, well, we want to go through this more kind of official conduit type thing. The one thing that I do miss about the officer positions is that it was supposed to put a responsibility on certain people to make sure that they were communicating information from the CSM out to the public.
Yeah.
Not that. Well, I mean, Ripard did.
Sugar has.
But not that... Sugar has from Sugar, right?
Yes, from her point of view, and the same thing with Mike.
One of the old officer positions on there was supposed to make
secretary
be responsible.
You had chairman and vice chairman, secretary, vice secretary, which the secretary and vice secretary were meant to be. Look, we're going to put out X, Y, and Z about the thing, which is what we've talked about. Boom, 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 boom. Nosy said that's right. There were 7 members and 7 alternatives, but only the
7 alternates.
But the alternates, they were only put in if one of the other members dropped out. It wasn't they were involved all the time.
Yeah, they were like on deck.
Yeah, so they hadn't I'm not sure, but I don't think they would have signed the NDA and all that, and they wouldn't have known any of the information unless they got called up. This is the difference.
Right. But but then again, you've also got to go back. Once again, go back in time to the evolution of the CSM, where it wasn't so heavily involved in all of the things that today's modern CSM is involved with, right?
Exactly.
So marketing and all this kind of stuff, right? I mean, it was a feedback organization, okay?
Yeah.
It wasn't it wasn't there for early development discussions and things along those lines. It was a feedback later in the process, right? To kind of differentiate between the signal and the noise and all that kind of stuff. But it has now migrated into something that has its hands in all of these different areas. From which is where the NDA kind of NDA relative information really comes into into play. And honestly, where I think it really derailed and it really caused the CSM to be much more problematic, overall. I think that if they took it back to a simpler time, that you get rid of a lot. That you get rid of a lot of this stuff. I mean, I hate to say that CCP is so much better communicators today than they were back then, but they are. I mean, they are out there communicating in a plethora of different, social media places and through their own, through their own forums and things like that. Way better. But let's not forget that one of the things that kind of helped drive that was the CSM.
Yes, exactly. It was exactly what it is.
It didn't. The communication from CCP didn't just come about out of thin air. Because one day they decided, we're going to be... No, it came about because the communication had been so bad, and the CSM was part of helping them, I think, find better ways and become better at communicating. And now the horse has kind of run out of the barn from the perspective of we're communicating so well, and we're reaching out to so many people, and we're getting so much feedback from all of these different locations out there that we can literally bypass you.
Yeah. Again, noises. Noises. I think it was Two Step's activity that led the charge or led the change. And again, I think it was when Two Step was out, like the whole POS debacle. That was what it was like. But people who run POSs are a small part of the community or a small part of the game, or whatever. I think it was something like that, wasn't it? Way back when. That was But I mean, again, I mean, my biggest issue that I have, I think, at this point with the CSM. Is that if you are going to have it, okay, put in place the organizational changes and the structure to the CSM and all this kind of stuff that that is transparent, that is accountable, that puts in place an organization that works. Because right now, what we have, we're going to repeat this again. I mean, this is something that it happens every year. This is not just about leaks of NDA material. This is not just about Manny. This is not, if Manny did anything, I don't know. Okay, but that was a story back when. The Gorski thing recently, stuff from the past, right? It's not just about that. It's about just the day-to-day functioning of it, the communication between these people who were elected, all right? A lot of people out there think the whole election process is is crappy. Well, hey, look, that's democracy. Oh, it's run by this. You keep seeing this stuff out there. It's run by nullsec blocks. It's oh my God, the CSM is so much more diversified today than it ever was in the past. Yeah.
And that came about because of the single transferable vote system change that they put in, the expansion to 14 members and all that allowed more diversity in the people that got elected and kind of what they represent.
But also the thing the expansion to 40 members helped CCP have more input. So they then said, you know what? We're not just going to give you a little bit of a forum access or Skype or whatever. We're going to give you access to our internal stuff that we use, like Confluence. And, and we're also going to put you on one of our internal hip chats so it can all be secure and we can talk to you and we know what's going on. We're not going to do it through Skype because we know that Skype logs are dodgy and Skype can be leaked and all this and all. And everything that has happened, every little bit as it's built up, has got to where we are today, where we've got a much more engaged CSM with CCP. They have much more feedback to give to them and in and out, and they can talk about a lot more because CCP go, well, you know what? Like Fozzie did midweek, like last week, Fozzie was just like, I'm going to press millions of buttons and put everything to the community and give all the feedback, and put all the threads out there. They would have known about this, but they get some information and they go, right, now give us some feelers on this. What do you think? What are the people saying? What's the community saying here? What's this saying there? What's that saying there? And how's it going? And you build it up that way. It's a much better, in my opinion anyway, and this is just my opinion, I may be stupid, it's a much better organisation now than it was
Skill training is destroyed and you
a few
die.
ago. Thank you to Christopher Johansson just for following, because that just happened on the feed. You'll see it comes across in the feed, and I set up Twitch alerts for this feed because reasons.
I mean, personally, I think that the CSM is overextended. I don't think that it needs to have its hands in all of these things. Look, I just think that it's got its hands in too many things, and I think that leads to too many, too much. It leads to too many issues. Now, none of this matters. What you think about the CSM, what I think about the CSM, what other players think about the CSM, what the CSM itself thinks about the CSM, almost doesn't
Skill
matter
training is destroyed
so
and you
long
die.
as CCP is getting from it what it wants, because that's really what, in a way, that's really almost all that they need to care about.
Yeah.
But what we as players do need to remember is that the CSM was put in place to be representatives of of the players, okay, out of a history of needing to kind of in a way protect player rights, or whatever the hell you want to call it. And if you look at it from that perspective, okay, the fact that CCP can basically ignore the player representative group because shit has broken down or whatever, it just shows you that the amount of power that they wield in the relationship is so much that I don't know. I mean, again, I just come back to the whole thing of I think it's run its course. I think it's run its course, and it might just be better off if you're going to keep the CSM. Break it back to a simpler time when the information that they were exposed to, was not as early. That they didn't have their hands and feet and everything else in marketing and every other little department over there and talking to. I don't know that it's necessary.
Oh, exactly.
CCP had a pretty damn good game. I got to be honest. CCP had a pretty damn good game before the CSM took on all of its power. And I don't want to say power. Took on all of its, having its hands in these various things.
Yeah.
Yes, it certainly helped. It certainly helped on a number of occasions. But I think it also made some things and I think it also made some things bigger than maybe what they needed to be. Or you've got a CCP right now that seems very, very reactionary. With a lot of the things, and you wonder, if there wasn't a CSM, or if there wasn't a CSM who was involved too early, and they were just there for feedback, smoothing off the edges and things like that, would we have had, some of the changes that we've had that maybe, I don't know, have led to some things where you've got the CCP going, but we told you so.
Yeah, I mean, what we've got, the way CCP are more, as we said, they're more open. And hello, by the way, to CCP Avalon in the chat. I haven't seen you in Twitch chat for a while, Avalon. And strange enough, Dirk's back. And is that a coincidence? And is that a cycle? Or we don't know. Anyway,
Monitor.
Maybe. But the fact that CCP are more open now with what they say and how they say stuff. And they're more direct to players. They're doing focus groups, which are an amazing thing. It's like, well, we're going to pick some people and do it, and this, and being more open in discussion. I agree with you. Maybe the CSM as it is now, right now, we don't need it. Maybe we want, as you said, scale it back a bit. So it's like, you know what? We're going to tell you some NDA stuff, but we're not going to tell you 6 months in advance. We're going to tell you maybe 12 weeks in advance, maybe 18 weeks in advance. So you've got it a little bit, but not 6 months. Not a year or whatever. And again, they don't really desperately need to be involved with a billion things.
If it's truly about separating the signal from the noise, right, then they don't need to be in early, okay, because really what they are is that they're a group of people that CCP can tap to ask about it. Maybe it doesn't need to be released early at all to them.
Yeah.
Okay, now, the idea behind that is that the earlier they're involved, the faster that they can head CCP off from maybe doing something, pants on head stupid or something along those lines, right? I don't know. There's a part of me that would like to see CCP, certainly like to see CCP run the game, through their long-term vision, and not just be reactionary, and I think that they struggle with that now, or I think that they struggle with that, because of so much communication out there, so looking for so much feedback from the player base, regardless of whether it's the CSM or Reddit or the forums or Twitter or wherever they're communicating, or Slack or whatever. I think that they're because players are fickle, and
yes, they are.
So, with each little incremental thing, they don't necessarily see the big picture. They don't, and I guess that's part of what the CSM was kind of there for, is they were seeing the big picture, but I don't know that it was necessarily overwhelmingly working right anymore.
Yeah. Chorus rule in game. Well, actually, going from back, because Dave Harris says, I agree. Keep the CSM for feedback, not early development. Chorus rule says, I've heard bloggers and podcasters talk about the amount of ignoring the CSM get from CCP, and they set up conference calls and talks, but don't actually listen to them. Well, at the end of the day, you got to remember that CCP don't pay this. Don't. I'm using commas. They don't pay them a wage. Yeah, okay, they get their account for free. It's like I get my account for free for running a fan site or whatever. Anyone could do that, or a blog or where, But CCP don't have to listen to the CSM, because at the end of the day, they're not an employee. They're not on the books. Okay, they can get the feedback and say thanks for that feedback. We'll take that on board. But
there's a difference between hearing them, and listening to them.
Yes.
And following directions from them. Okay, they're not going to be following directions from the CSM. The CSM, once again, provide feedback, provide insight from a player perspective, whatever the hell you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to be dictating. They're not going to be dictating anything. The breakdown, it seems, that happened this year was they weren't even hearing them.
Yes.
Because they weren't engaging them on the level that the level that they had. Now, look, none of us who are on the outside know what the fundamental breakdowns were that occurred, okay, to basically a ceasing and ending of official kind of communications back and forth, team meetings and things like that. So it's extremely difficult to comment about specifics for anybody who's not one of the sitting members today or CCP. All right?
Yes.
Scion did a bit of that. I think we all have an eye into, and I wish more of the CSM would do a bit of a post-mortem on kind of what happened this year in order to either refute or corroborate what Scion had to say. Because again, the focus has been so much on Scion as a person, okay? And you're going to have the bands out there that are against him, the bands that will support him no matter what, and then kind of, what I'll call the independent vote, that is looking at it from a perspective of, it's not about Scion, it's about this underlying stuff that's out here. Sugar kind of corroborated it.
Yeah.
I think Thoric did too, but then people will wave the thing and go, well, Thoric's just a member of the Imperium, and, of course he's going to corroborate it. I'd like to see some of these other ones, get out there. Because, again, fundamental breakdown this year. It broke down and was basically thrown into the trash bin, I think, with the thing of, well, we'll just start anew with the next one. The problem is that when you take that point of view, it could just as easily happen with the next one.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it can't, that's when it comes down to, you see the things like when, we're going to touch on it now, but we're touching on the whole thing, but when Scion put out the article of, we're going to talk about this or we're going to talk about that, and he puts out the Bad Blood article, which I've just posted into Twitch, and he puts that out and talks about how things are going on and about this, and when it comes down to that, and then you see, okay, I can understand why he put that out and, why he did that sort of stuff. And as I said to you on Skype, I think we was chatting on Skype actually about it, I totally agree with what every 100% of what he says in the article, right? And doing it like that, perfectly fine. The problem I have with some of the stuff that Scion does in particular in that way is that sometimes kind of throws his toys out the pram just a little bit, just a little bit when he doesn't, not so much when he
Yeah.
gets his own way, but you're not listening to me. Rah, 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 rah. And then he realises, hold on a minute, I've been a stupid idiot, but he doesn't say anything about it.
No, I mean, like, I wish there had been no reference to the Xander stuff in there, or that paragraph on Bob Bond that then got edited to say, well, I've got new information that, maybe says this isn't. It's like, for the sake of just talking about the problems associated with the CSM this term and what, I don't think that stuff had to be in there. But I think that he was trying to provide a lot of context and historical historical context, for people who maybe, don't remember those things or whatever. I don't know. Every writer has their own way, and sometimes they put in things. I mean, I know that when I've written shit or when I've said stuff out there, sometimes you put in stuff that doesn't need to be there, and then people begin to focus on those things, right? And they lose sight of the underlying message, the real core of the message that that you're trying to put out there.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And that's generally how it is, though, with the way that, as you say, with the way writers are, with the way things are. When you put articles out there, you look at the whole. You look at what's it called? Look at the political race at the moment in the US, right? You've got you got Bernie Sanders and you got Hillary Clinton.
The shit that will not end.
Well, you know how it is, but yeah. Oh, by the way, if you want a good podcast that's about politics by Justin Robert Young, check it out. Fucking awesome. This is coming from a guy who lives in the UK who doesn't give a fuck about the US political race. It's a great podcast because he just talks about it and goes into it and breaks it all down. Anyway, but no, you look at that and you see how things are, and everyone's, they ask people, why are you going to vote for Trump? Well, because he makes sense. He says things that people don't want to say. Would you vote for him? Probably not, because of this, because of that, because of the... And that's how it is. The writers out there, the people have their way of saying stuff, All right, literally, do you reckon if the next president of the United States would either be, probably, right, Donald Trump, if hell freezes over, maybe Clinton, if she gets her act together, or maybe Bernie? What do you reckon? Out of those three, if those were the three you had to choose from, who would you rather have?
It's not a matter of out of those three, if I had to choose, but if I had to think who it would be, okay, I think it'll be Clinton. I don't think that Bernie Sanders has got enough support to be able to pull the number of delegates that he has to on a nationwide basis. I think that Trump is going to end up being the nominee, and he'll lose to Clinton.
Yeah.
And here's one of those cases where perhaps his underlying message, is not as crazy as the words that come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what people hear is they hear the crazy that comes out of his mouth, and there's only so many angry voters out there who are a constituency, and I don't think that they are a majority of this country, and I don't think that when it comes general election time that he ends up winning. So in the meantime, the Republican Party blows itself up because of a political suicide bomber that's going to detonate on stage at the Republican National Convention.
Well, this is true. That or Marco Rubio is just going to, I know he's backed up, he's going to, look at my shoes. Just back out.
For me, this is a terrible election because it is literally the first election in my life, presidential election in my life, where I don't feel like I can get behind a candidate.
Yeah. Well, again,
like on the Republican side, I literally don't know who I would pull the pull the lever for when it comes time to the primary in my state. I absolutely cannot vote for Donald Trump under any circumstances.
Even if it was the comedy vote. Just to say.
No,
that's the thing.
I hate to say it. I actually care about my country.
Exactly. No, I know what you mean.
My country.
It's the same here. It's the same in the UK when people go, oh well, UKIP would be great to vote for, and we should do this. Yeah. You know what? Some of the ideas maybe at a borderline base level, possibly, but at the end of the day, I actually care about my country. I care about living here. I care about I've moved. I'm living with my girlfriend now. I'm an independent man. Live with my girlfriend. We are a family unit. We live together. I don't have to walk about. You know what? The world's the world, and it keeps turning. That's it. Fuck it.
and this is kind of the difference for me between I'll say the CSM, okay, and looking at my real world government, right? I can't just say I'm done with my real world government. I mean, you can, but don't worry, it's still going to go on around you regardless of anything else.
Yes.
Okay? And and if too many people get that way, then it's just a minority that are that are running things. But with the CSM, okay, look, at one point, all right, I was definitely one of the people out there that was a huge supporter of it. I love the idea. I love the concept behind it, right? But what I've seen too much of is the fact that it's just not organized in a way that's going to lead to a successful, positive outcome on an ongoing basis. It is always going to be what it is now because it's not taken seriously by the player base. It seems to be a shambles. I mean, this time last year, we were talking about Scion, and we were talking about Funky Bacon, and we were talking about Xander Fina, and the end of 9 and what that all came out as, right? But what we had last year, this time, was we had hope. We had hope that they were going to be looking at how they were going to restructure it. And, we were talking about, we were using words like transparency and accountability and, all this kind of stuff, right? Because that's what it sounded like was going to be one of the focus factors of the CSM term. And that, and that maybe by the end of it, what we would have is we would have something better than what we went in at. And what we saw after starting the year off like that was it turned out far worse than any CSM term in history. And again, I'm not blaming that on I mean, my God, people like Sugar Kyle, Steve Renukin, Mike, all of them. I don't know what like how much effort some of the others, but man, some of these people, they put their blood, sweat, and tears into this thing.
They do.
And it's a shame that it ends up the way that it does because it wrecks them as players.
Well, it wrecks their confidence, and they're like, you know what? I don't want to do this, and they literally just do this. They're like, people, the video viewers are going to be, they're just like, peace out, and they literally do that. That is literally what they do. They take their headphones off, they take the things off, and they peace out, and they're gone. That's literally what they do, and that's not a good thing. Never a good thing, and we don't want that. So
I mean, and as much as basically probably in like November, December, I just threw up my hands and went, I can't continue to support something. It's like a guy that keeps beating his wife, and the wife keeps coming back home to it. I mean, nothing here is being resolved. Exactly. So it's like, oh wow, okay, no, I can't. I can't do this anymore. But then I feel like I get sucked back in because I do have this hope. I do have this hope that it can be something where the players can get behind it, and it can be utilized in a way that seems like it'll have a better positive outcome. And it's not to say that they haven't done good things, even despite in spite of all of this stuff. The CSM has done good things that we'll never hear about. They're like the CIA, right? They may have stopped all kinds of terrorist attacks, but you never knew about it because the terrorist attack didn't happen, and they didn't show you the evidence of it.
Exactly. Quickly, I just touch on a random for this week in New Eden, but what we used to do on what's called the GRN show, talking a bit of a technology thing this week. Tim Cook, I love you. You're amazing. That open. Did you read the open letter this week, Dirk? I take it you read the open letter from Apple. The open letter of
no.
Right. Okay. Tim Cook basically.
Wait, are you talking about
encryption,
the unlocking of the Apple thing?
I know. Yeah. I love him for what he said. He says we could do it. That it's potentially possible to do it, but we're not going to just do it willy-nilly. Right now, if it goes through to appeals and they go through to the Supreme Court and they do it, fine, and they say they do it. This is how I personally think they should do it. They should make the version of iOS for that particular device. Very quick thing. Every update that goes to iOS is unique to that device. It's not. You can't go, you got the update, just pull it off and give it to me. It's not an image file. It's the image is signed for that device. It's the way they're made. They make it, and Apple say, we do it in-house. We do it. We brute force it. There's the thing you want. What do you want off it? Okay, now we're going to wipe the phone. Done. Finished. That's what they should do. But it's all about encryption, about weakening stuff because
the problem they say they have, okay, is that they don't want to give the government
Yes.
the ability to do it on their own, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But not only that, they don't even want to do it internally, because then somebody internally has written the code for how to do this, and what if it leaks out there? What if it gets out?
Exactly.
So I mean,
And the other thing as well,
I don't know.
They do it with the government, yeah, and then they say, "Oh, go to the court, get all the things," and they come through and they do it. The problem is, you do that, then China come and say, "Actually, we need something off this iPhone, please." And they're like, "Well, give us the." They have to go through the courts, and they do it. And then you got China, you got Pakistan, you got India, you got Iran, you got Iraq, blah 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 blah, this, that, the other. And long and the short of it is, as long as Apple can do it in a controlled environment, and it's just for that one device, and it does aid.
Well,
stuff.
here's the thing. I mean, people have brought up this. Well, what if then China calls? What if then Russia calls? What if then North Korea calls and demands such and such? They can do that anyways. I mean, this is not one of those things where just because, in this particular case, for national security, that the United States government is asking for this. I mean, China can turn around tomorrow and say, you need to unlock this, or we're kicking all iPhones out of the country. I mean,
and for a fact they don't want that. For a fact that Apple want the money there.
But as it being part of the argument, well, if it happens here, then it could happen in these other places where they'll use it much more extensively. Those countries could choose to do that tomorrow. They could choose to try and do that tomorrow.
Oh, I totally agree.
Regardless of whether or not we do it, regardless of anything here. So I don't know. I mean, it's a very touchy situation, because I know that you've got a whole bunch of people out there, who were you got Edward Snowden commenting on it, and and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, you're talking about an investigation here to try and determine who else he may have been in contact with regarding a terrorist act, and are we at that point where holy crap, we can't even get to information that is relevant because we're afraid of it being used for nefarious purposes at some other time. I don't know.
Well, other thing as well, very very briefly announced, the HTC Vive, their VR headset. So we know the Oculus Rift was $599, and you think that is a lot of money. HTC just went, yeah, bitch, $799.
I guess they're not using the same manufacturing. Yeah.
No, again, this.
But yeah, if you were waiting for a cheaper alternative to Oculus, it's not coming from them.
I've got one right here for you in this cupboard. And it's
don't pull out your cardboard.
Google
again.
Cardboard! No, it's in the cupboard now. But no, it's in the cupboard. No, that's come out.
This shit's going to be expensive right now. What do people want?
Of course it is. You're basically projecting two 1080p screens like there in your face.
Do you know how much a VCR was back when those giant boxes first came out?
A lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, DVD players.
Anyway.
It's a new technology. Give it a couple years and it'll be at a cheaper price
It'll be
point.
a dime a dozen. Let's get back to Eve. Eve NT was this weekend, and if I say
Thanks to Obama. This is where Dirk says thanks Obama. I've stopped thanking Obama a long time ago.
I've just posted in the chat a Reddit post. Oh my god, it's a post from Reddit. No, Eve NT was this weekend, and literally this weekend, I normally would be there, but I wasn't. Reasons, money, stuff. Now, some things have been always announced there. This one was announced that, well, the watch list is only going to show people on your watch list here we go. Let me rephrase this. You want to have I want Dirk on my watch list, but Dirk doesn't want me to have him on my watch list, so he just doesn't accept it, and then therefore no one's on the watch list. Was that the most butchered explanation of it all completely, I think?
Well, okay, so basically you're not, or whenever they implement this or whatever, you're not going to be able to see when you can't put somebody on the watch list and see whether or not they're online unless they have you reverse watch listed.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what's the big deal about this? The big deal is that seeing when a particular character logs in is a form of intelligence in this game.
Exactly.
Okay? That is used by countless people for various things. You're a miner, you're a ratter, you know that somebody is a is a ganker that operates in your area. You can see when they log in. Log off games. Now maybe somebody comes into your system and logs off. Well, you're not going to see. The first thing you would see is them pop up on your login before they even land on grid or anything like that. So it's all about intelligence. You got the people out there hunting super capitals that are just waiting for a Titan that they know is in this general area to log in, or his Sino-Waltz, or things like that, right? It's a very powerful intelligence tool for that.
Yes.
Too powerful. And now it's going. Now it looks like it's going to be going away. I think it's a completely logical decision that they're making. I'm trying to think. I was having a conversation with I think it may have been Proto or Matterall or somebody yesterday. Where I sat there and said, "Well, but I've been admiring and loving this person from afar, and they don't know it. But it warms my heart when I see them log in."
Oh, creep. No, thank you to 070 for following the channel as well, by the way. You saw the little guy run across and went, oh my god, skill creator. Basically, it's a little gif that runs across. It's quite funny. And it says Aura, it says skill training is destroyed and you died because I made that up, whatever. No, this is the thing. A lot of people have said, oh, this is a bad change. What the hell, CCP? And most players are going, this is a great fucking change. It is free intelligence. So you don't know whether that super pilot has logged in or that Titan pilot has logged in. Wrecking crew for PL, well, they may actually now have to do some work. But also, on the contrary, it does mean that all the people who are afraid of PL alts logging in, oh shit, there's the PL alts logging in, boom, 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 you don't have to worry about that anymore. It does help, I suppose. I think.
Yeah, I mean, Car's rule in the in-game chat said basically the watch list is now a friend's request. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it should almost, maybe that's the way that that it should be, is, hey, I've friended you. Would you like to friend me back?
You know what? I think
instead of calling it the watch list, it's no longer the watch list. They're getting rid of, basically the usability of the watch list.
I've just realized what this actually is. This is a stealth buff to Evegate to get everyone to use Evegate. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, again, this was announced at EVNT this weekend, and a lot of people are going, oh, well, why did CCP announce stuff at player events? Why don't they put it on the forums? Why don't they put it on devlogs? Because CCP are a more evolved company now, and they actually want to do things at player events and meets and gatherings and get out there, as opposed to just post it on
that's
forum.
Fine. And that's fine. Look, it is one of the issues that I have currently with CCP communication, is that it is very shotgun at this point. That there is important information, but you don't know where to wait for it. Like it could be on Slack. It could be on Twitter. It could be on the forums. It could be in a dev blog. It could just be in a dev post, not a dev blog.
Yeah.
It could be on Reddit. It could be. Did I say Slack already? I think I did. It could be in all of these various places. It could be it could just be up on stage at a player event that is attended by 100 people. And then has to work its way out, through viral connections out into the broader community. Look, if you're going to release a tidbit of information about a change that's fine, verbally announce, but then have the backup for it ready to go to your official
channels,
kind of channel.
Your forum post, your dev blog post. That sort of stuff, which then replicates to things like Facebook, like Twitter, like Reddit, that gets it into the social media channels. Because all of these information stuff that came out from EVNT, they were displayed there and shown there. They were put on Reddit by players who were there. So there's a bit of video, there's a bit of audio and stuff like that. And Christian Johnson says Slack. Slack's a communication chat client thing. It's basically yet another chat client, YACC. It's like another Jabber, another Mumble. Well, it's not Mumble because Mumble's voice, but whatever. That sort of stuff. There is a sweet.
Any of these places that it comes out, okay, and I don't care which one it is, a player event, tweet, Slack, whatever, okay. Anytime that these things happen like that, okay, pretty soon thereafter, it should be finding its way to the Eve dev
posts, dev logs or dev posts on the forums.
Preferably, I mean, preferably dev blog.
Yes.
Okay. Because those are held in a different way than just a dev post. It should definitely be finding its way to the official channel.
Yeah.
And not like a month later or 3 weeks later or however long, right? I mean, it should be, and it doesn't have to be a 12-page dev blog about it. I mean, this right here is pretty much a short paragraph.
Yeah.
But at least it's in a place where, you know what, if you didn't hear about it at EVE-NT or by word of mouth, or one of the few people who are listening to podcasts or reading maybe one of the news sites or whatever, but you're somebody who just happens to check dev blogs or whatever. I mean that's the official place, and that is the problem that I have with their communication right now. It's this shotgun. You don't know where the pellet is going to hit out there when news is released.
I've always had that communication problem as well with them, just the way it is. Caleb in Twitches, with the growing importance of usage of Slack, maybe it should really be ISD run. No. Never. Unless CCP turn around and say, we're going to run it ourselves, and they start up an official Slack. But the problem is Slack is Slack isn't free. It's free for the basic stuff that their Tweet Fleet guys are using it for, and they're maybe paying for a few bits, but it's never free. And the thing is, also with Slack, if CCP were going to run it, and this comes back to some sort of the CSM stuff as well, the reason CCP use Confluence and they use HipChat over Slack is Slack you have to use Slack servers, and at the end of the day they're not run by yourself. HipChat and Confluence can all be run on your own servers, and that's why CCP use HipChat for the CSM to talk to them about stuff, but also they use it internally. Slack's good, it's great when you've got integration with stuff, but HipChat you can run your own server, so that basically means you've got control over everything. And remember, as CCP being a business, they need to have that, because there's that one little chink in the armor that something could get leaked. You don't know who leaked it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Slack that we're talking about is a privately run Slack.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is something that the guys from
it was
Hydrostatic and right.
It was actually it was originally. I think it was originally the Galente Faction Warfare. Ashtarothi and those guys definitely did it, and it was set up by Adrian Robotics. That's the one. They set it up initially, and yeah, CCP is not ISD. Cabarin, no, CCP is not ISD, but the ISD are technically they're volunteer employees of CCP, so that's why the ISD.
So CCP are basically guests over in this thing, okay? Some of them are given powers or whatever, whatever they're just like Reddit. I mean, this is not an official channel. However, it is being used, okay, for conversations and stuff like that CCP are participating in, just like they're participating in Reddit and and Twitter and all of these other places.
Yeah.
But again, they do have an official place where when they communicate changes, that stuff can go to. And it's totally fine. I totally understand why at EVE-NT they release a tidbit out there. Yes, they're giving a kernel of whatever to the community who is showing up at these events. So whether it be EVE Vegas, where they release the stuff, the early stuff regarding capital changes and things like that, right? They use these events for those things. But what it should be is, you make a comment and then you've got your public press release. It's ready to go.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree with Durkin in chat as well. He says not having a devlog when something gets announced just seems wrong. Yes, but remember, they may be showing this there. And remember, the devs that are there, right, some of them aren't coming back to Iceland on Monday or today. They're staying in London because next week is Veto London, is the London meet. So there might be some more stuff there or whatever. And remember, then once that's happened, they'll go back. But also, there's probably dev blogs waiting to go, and Monday morning, press the button and away it goes. It may not be on a Saturday afternoon you press a button. Yes, sometimes dev blogs go out on a Saturday or something like that, but they may want to sit down and remember all the stuff said at player events, whether it be Vegas, FanFest, well, not so much FanFest, but Vegas, London, not NT, EVE Down Under. Everything's subject to change. They can announce stuff.
Oh, it's absolutely subject to change, yeah.
And it changes. And then you look at the way the devlogs come out and people go, oh, it said it in the devlog. It said it was right there. Well, the problem is with a dev blog, sometimes that's subject
Everything is subject to change, for God's sakes. Even a dev blog. I mean, there's nothing that is written in stone that hell. Once something is delivered, it's subject to change.
Oh, exactly. That's the way it is. And again, speaking of subject to change, I was going to post another link in Twitch chat. The fighters are being changed, as we've said before. We knew this. We knew there were some changes happening, and again, announced at EVNT yesterday. The way fighters are going to work, one of the major changes, which we'll go on them in a second, but we knew that there were going to be a different change to fighters. So there's going to be the I've just got to load it up here because Chrome's being a bit stupid, so I'm loading it on my tablet. It basically says that the way that they're changing, you've got the 3 different groups, or 4 different groups, the subgroups now. So you've got the light, and you've got the support, and you've got the heavy. So they're the 3 groups. And in each group, you've got 2 types. So the light, you have the interceptor, the anti-fighter style, and you've got the general purpose ones. So they've got different names. So the standard fighters currently are going to be general purpose. Then there's going to be a new set of fighters for the interceptor ones. Then the support, which is going to be ECM, warfare, warp disruption, stasis web, that sort of stuff. Their support. That's the electronic warfare ones. And then you've got the heavy. You've got 2 types. You've got torpedo bomber, anti-capitals, which are your currently fighter bombers. And you've got AoE bombers, long range damage, which again, different ones. So we're going to have 5 different types of fighters, as opposed to just
Just fighters.
Just
and
fighters and
bombers.
fighter bombers. Yeah. and remember, this means it can all be changed. And the way it's, again, touching back to what Caleb said in Twitch, my point tied to the ISD changes regarding anonymity, you can mean having your part of the ISD known the meta operators and adding the function and services not actually CP but neutral. TLDR, the Slack owners could be publicly known ISD and thus securely reduced blocks. The thing is, ISD can't officially announce who they are. So if you work for ISD, you can't tell anyone who your player character is, unless they actually know you and they know your ISD for whatever reason. But they, it's the way it is. Anyway, there's that. And Durkadin says, if that's the case, then they shouldn't be announcing half-baked features, and they launch some undeveloped features, so why not announce them, Noisy says. Zing. Noisy. Really? I think that's a bit bad. Maybe. I don't know. Noisy little pup. But the other thing that's come out of this fighters thing, which has got a few people a little bit upset, is that the new fighters, so all the new fighters and fighter bombers, when they're rechanged, will not auto-aggress. You have to tell them to aggress something. And it's the new targeting system where you say, go and attack that area, and they just attack things in that area. But they won't automatically aggress something that's attacking you. This has got a few people...
Well, one of the things about fighters, though, is that... Okay, so from a PvE perspective, okay, let's say you're out there ratting with your carrier, right, and you've had fighters out there. The fighters will go after the first thing but they won't then cycle to the next one and the next one and the next one, and like like drones do, right? So you're always having to target past the first one. I mean, same thing if you're out there in PvP, with your carrier. Yes, if you have them out and they're set to aggressive, then I guess the first thing that shoots at you or whatever they will go after, but they won't then switch targets automatically. So I don't know why it's that big of a deal. I mean, they're really not auto now.
No, again, well, the thing is, a lot of people, they've said it because of the ratting carriers and this, and you have stuff out there and the way people are, and it's like, you know what? The game's going to change, and this is what happens. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, new bros, it's hurting new bro. I'm my experienced people, and it hurts me, and I'm her."
And actually, I'm not even sure if fighters aggress on rats at all.
No, they do.
They do. It's been a while since I ratted in my carrier. But
the last time I ratted in my carrier, which was back when we
used to rat in 2 supers, and it's just like.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. I mean, overall, this fighter change is is great.
Yeah.
I think that it is. It's forcing. I thought I was done with training in the drone category. There was roughly a year where I was, where I had my attributes set for proper drone training, memory perception, and now I'm having to go back and train, which I'm doing right now across a few characters. I'd already had Fighters 5, I'd already had Fighter Bombers 5, I'd already had everything else, and now it's back to support fighters and lights, I guess there.
Yeah. Just to for the last,
which are some heavy freaking skills, man. I mean, we're talking, these are like, doing Fighters 5 all over again.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's what it is, the support stuff. Just to put the comments in that Larrikin posted on Reddit, to the post. I'm just going to read them out. He did say, in general, it's less frustrating. We're cutting down the number of things on grid from 10 fighters to 5 to 3 fighter squadrons. We're cutting down a bunch of AI, so there's no auto aggro for fighter squadrons. You must tell them who to attack. So that takes out a whole bunch of logic to do with who's near me, who's hostile, etc. You don't just need to give them detailed movement instructions. You can just say, go attack X, as you would in any real-time strategy game. Tie-Dye is going to lower fighter squadron responsive like it does in current gameplay, but we're expecting an improvement over the current drone/fighter behaviour, and we'll be doing some mass tests for the fighter squadrons on Saito before release. Help us out by coming along to them, and we'll announce with plenty of warning. And that's what it is.
Yeah, no, she's like, don't be poor. Lockbox is saying, just inject it.
Yeah, just inject it, yo.
Well, you know what? I mean, which is absolutely an option out there now, right? I mean, we've got this. People can find a way to not train it.
Actually, funnily enough, the injector price. I'm looking at it now, and for the people on Twitch can see it. It's for the past month, right? They started on an average of 657 in Jita. That was the first day. 645, 640, 632. Then they dropped massively to 619, 616, 611, 610, 612. Back up to 630, 652 again, 653, 639 today. So you're looking at the weekends, they're going up a bit. Saturdays and Fridays and Saturdays, where you expect people are going to play more, so they're going to inject stuff.
I'm going to tell you the injectors themselves, right? Which is the combination of the extractor, okay, as well as the skill points, have held up way better than
injectors alone. Extractors alone.
Exactly. Extractors have actually come down.
Yeah, they've come down a hell of a lot.
From the early days, but the injectors, and therefore, what you're paying for the skill points has held up better than I was expecting.
Exactly. I mean, you're looking at it, right?
And I'm glad to see that, because what it tells me is that people are valuing those skill points, right?
Yeah.
That this is not or is free if I mine it myself. Okay. That the price point for skill points is holding up because people are valuing what those mean.
Yeah, exactly. Looking at the prices of plexes as well. Plexes are fluctuating between the 1.2 and they've got up to 1.27 in the last month or so. They're close to the 1.3, and they're sitting at 1.183 at the moment. And it's only 100 million ISK here or there, but 100 million ISK is still a lot of money, And I was having this conversation with my girlfriend yesterday. We were talking about Second Life, right, and Linden dollars and all that sort of stuff. Right, and we're talking about money and how you can earn money in that game, and we're talking about how it goes into EVE and how the Plex and this and that is, and the value of stuff. And that's the thing, you got to remember that in EVE, you can go out there, do what's it called? You can do incursions, rat, earn loads of money. You can scam, you can market trade, you can earn billions and billions a day if you're smart enough about doing it. And then take that and pay for your game, but you can never really take that money out. We were talking about the RMT factor that you can do in Second Life, where you can convert it, but the only way to get the money in Second Life is directly from Linden Labs, where you have to pay them money. You get that from them, or someone pays you in game for a job. You can't just earn it randomly sitting around doing stuff. Anyway, Durkin says, or is free. I mind it myself, Dirk. Yeah, 2015.
Yeah, I didn't just come up with that now. I mean, that's old from somebody else. I mean,
that's been an ongoing meme for years, isn't it? That's what it is. But no, the thing is with injectors as well. I looked at the price of it and all that, and how it is. injectors, as you said, have kind of stayed around the same amount. They're around about the 650, low end 610, but they're around about that. The extractors are the ones that have always dropped. They've they've literally lost value every day since they were released. I'm looking at it now. They have not increased. They've increased in value one day.
I mean, to some extent, you're going to expect a couple things to happen, right? And LockFox can do a much better job of talking about this. But you're going to expect that extractors and Plex prices are going to find an equilibrium, because the choice by the dollar buyer out there, right, the person actually spending money, okay, for this stuff, and they're looking to get ISK out of their trade, right, is going to choose between, should I sell extractors or should I buy Plex and sell Plex, right? So those two things should begin to come closer together on a dollar per ISK basis.
Yeah.
So whether that means that Plex goes up and extractor prices go down or whatever, they're going to find that middle ground, in that. And what is the thing that has the bigger demand? On day one of extractors, it's going to be extractors. But long term, Plex is king. Plex is still and Noisy. Yeah. I'm not citing your blog out there. Okay. What you wrote on it out there. But I'm saying that Plex is king because Plex can do all of these things.
It can.
You can find a way for Plex to get back to Aurum, to get to injectors, to do all these things,
this is
right?
the thing. This is where it comes from.
And it's game time.
Yeah, exactly.
And you got a much bigger market for game time than you do necessarily for extractors.
Exactly, and that's where it comes into it.
And as a source of hoarding wealth.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Because Plex is now.
You probably won't hoard extractors, but you will hoard Plex.
Exactly. Your Plex will always, unless CCP do something desperately bad with it, Plex will always hold its value relative to what you
Plex, because Plex at the bare minimum is always going to be worth, so long as the lights are on, 30 days of game time.
Exactly. And LockFox says, and Dirk gets it, Plex/extractors will be locked together. And they always will be, because Plexes are where you get it from. That's the 30 days of EVE. That's the game time of EVE that you can do anything with. You can sell it directly for ISK, you can convert it into Aurum, and then, use that Aurum to buy stuff off the next and sell that stuff for ISK. You can put it into your character, you can do 30 days of it, and as and that's the way it is. Injectors aren't totally locked, and that's what it is.
You're now on the injector side again. You've got that second thing that's involved there with the skill points, right? So here's the price of extractors.
Yep.
But what do I want to value my skill points
exactly? And remember, when you extract your 50K, your 500K skill points, you get them at 500K. Mr. Joe Blow New Schmo, who's got 500,000 skill points, he can buy that and put that straight in at 500,000. But old crazy man Dirk McGurk over there, he can't put 500K in because he's not going to value that at 500K. Because you're not going to get 500K, you're going to get 150K.
Well, remember, you've got the value of the 500K coming out, right?
Yes.
So the seller is thinking, well, what are 500,000 skill points? Buyers out there. Now, if you're an over 80 million skill point, you're looking at it as what is a skill point worth when I'm only going to get the value of 150,000 of them out,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
But again, EVE has got a wonderful market, right? And it is about supply and demand and trading and all of the things that come into making a good market. And just like with Plex, which I think is the best market out there, as for, the most realistic market out there, in the EVE market, extractors. And injectors, I think will be very similar. So so long as, especially once we get through the surplus of people who are dumping those skills that they don't want to have anymore, right?
Yeah, the old
and what we do is
mining, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Right, and what we do is we start migrating into the kind of the long run norm, right? Which will probably be more related to the farmer crew, right? The people who are careering their way to supplying the skill point market.
I guess. I mean, CCP originally, I think they initially said that you won't, well, not that you won't be able to, but they're going to make it extremely hard for people to farm skill points. I mean, I could technically farm skill points and sell them. Again, full disclosure, I run a fan site, TotalEve.com. Fun enough, I didn't plan this today. I didn't speak to Dirk before the show, but we're both wearing the same t-shirt, and I just grabbed it this morning and put it on, and he obviously was wearing his, you know.
I have the long sleeve version. Though.
Yeah, I have the short sleeve version because, and also mine's the you're in the version that's made for not a fat guy, but you're a fat guy anyway, or you're in the, you know, whatever it is. I'll be losing weight by now. CCP pay for my account as a fan site, right? Now I have another fan site which I've just put in, and when they say what do you want, I'm going to say give me the Plex, please. Because I can use that Plex more than I can another free account. So technically then I could farm skill points on an alt, farm it, buy the extractors, sell them off, make the IS, sell the IS. But then you look at that.
There's a whole group of people out there, okay, that can be put into the category of capable of farming skill points. Okay, you're somebody. I mean, for how long have veterans been saying I've got nothing else to train? Now maybe right now some of them do because they've come out with some new ones, but you know. Rather than training something that just for the sake of training it, right? Because it's not like they're not going to train.
Oh yeah, exactly.
They could be training on an alt character that is set up, just for that purpose, or even on their main if they don't, need the stuff, on their main, and they just become a supplier of skill points over time. There's going to be people out there who do it as a career. So long as they can fund their account the way they're funding their account and don't need any new skill points and skills that matter to them, they become, the new supply.
Durkadin in Twitch says, can you get a Plex worth of skill points in a month? Well, you could probably organise it if you have +5s and a really good training plan and all that. And the Akaris rule in game says, my minor alts are skilling Caldari Battlecruiser 5, and I'm going to take all that skill points every time it hits 500k, and I'm going to sell it. It worked it out, and it comes out to a full Plex in profits, thus free mining account. It does right now, Akaris. Give it time, give it a few months, and it won't. I will be 100% guaranteed with you on that. It won't. Purely because, as Dirk said just now, you've got the people that are burning off the skill points they don't need. The mining, the science stuff, for example, friend of the show, and was on last week, Urzil99, he burnt off all his capital skills on the pilots he didn't need, and he's putting them in other characters. Okay, he's not selling them, he's reusing them himself, but that's how it is. And the way it is. And Caleb says, at the moment, price means you can Plex by selling SP. Yes, you can right now. And remember, there's a sale on Plex and Aurum, which means you can buy extractors right now. But it works it out, And Akara says, if it doesn't, I've a few months worth of free mining. Well, you have. But then it's how you want to do.
The question will be, what is the long run, what is the long run demand for this, right? Once people have kind of got out this early stuff out of their system, right, on the demand side, is there going to be a long run demand for injecting? Hopefully for some for some newer players, right? Because that was one of the things that that it was really sort of geared towards. You're always going to have something come up like these new fighter skills where somebody feels as though, well, I need to have it right away. I don't know that this fighter thing, because it's not coming out until Citadel anyways, is something where people need to have it right away. But after it's released, obviously there might be people out there that sit there and say, I want to do this. But so if what you end up having is a softening of demand just over time for whatever reason, right? The value of those skill points, despite what a seller might want to get for them, just comes down because there's a surplus of it out there and a dearth of demand. Who knows?
Maybe.
Again, it's what makes the market fucking great. It's what makes a market. Period.
Yes, and that's what makes Eve. That's what makes Eve. It really does. That's what makes Eve different. Again, okay, people know that I play World of Warcraft, right? I play it and I look at the market there and the way the market works. Yeah, I do play World of Warcraft. I do have a World of Warcraft account and I do actively from time to time go in and play the game because I like playing the game. And the way it is in there, because you can now buy game time with gold in game, as long as you can earn enough in game. And Blizzard initially didn't tweak those numbers, and you could earn hundreds of thousands of gold a month and do it. They have tweaked it down to just sitting there and logging in every day and doing the basic missions that are in the garrison. Yeah, you can't. If you want to farm and actually go out there, you can earn enough gold out there and do it and whatever. But that's the way it is, and it's a completely different thing. But speaking of injectors, and we talked about we talked about it briefly last week on the show. We talked about it quite a bit actually last week. But the man who is behind Iron Bank, fun enough, Iron Bank, bought enough skill injectors to max out a pilot. And when I say max out, I mean every trainable skill in the game at the time he did it. It was something about, I think it was, 1.7 trillion ISK or something along those lines, he said. I'm just loading the article now to check it. All I'm going to say, Thomas says, a colossal waste of ISK and SP and billions, a waste of RMT ISK and SP, so billions of SP just went poof doing that. Yes, they did, Thomas, but also, remember, in the first day, right, the first day, your friend of mine, Dirk, Mr. Market Man, and not Antiquarian, what's his name? What? Quant, that's it. I couldn't think of the name. He said like 6 billion worth of, I think it was 6 billion skill points just were vaporized in just injection.
Okay. There were losses, some SP sync, and people out there made a big deal about it. Who cares? I can tell you right now, those SP that went poof weren't doing anything anyways.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Meaning that those SP, okay. An ISK sync is different. It has a consequence to the game. An SP sync doesn't have a consequence really to the game. It's interesting to say those SP went poof, but
yeah,
whatever. I mean, the consequence that they have to the game, didn't matter so much. But with regard to Iron Bank doing this, look, it was a vanity item. It was a vanity thing with somebody who had enough ISK to do it, right? Because he's got plenty of freaking ISK, obviously.
Yeah.
He did it the way that he did it. Somebody was, I think it was on Open Comms the other night. Somebody made reference. I think it came out of the one of the listeners. Talking about the fact that, why didn't he buy a pre-made character and then just top it up or whatever? And it's like, because he was doing it for show.
Yeah.
He was doing it live on stream,
and he was going to biomass it. He was
and
potentially, what am I going to do with it? And he was just going to basically biomass burn the character. He didn't in the end. He's now going to, and here's the thing, he injected the Force Auxiliary skill book before they even said, and they're now obviously going to refund all that, so he's got those skill points going back. So he's going to have unallocated skill points he can't even use. Well, he will be able to use them because of the new fighters, but even then, he will just put stuff in them anyway.
Skill training is destroyed.
Right. And now that somebody has done it, okay, it's unlikely that I'll get back to that in a second, Locke. Hold on. But now that somebody has done it, it's unlikely that somebody else who wants to be number 2 at doing it, right?
Exactly. Also, by the way, thanks to
nobody remembers second place.
Exactly. Thank you to Ray Fox 1981 for following the channel. Thank you very much. Follow it to see whenever an Eve Radio DJ who goes on air. We're streaming from here because we always do. There's DJs that stream here from time to time and stuff like that. So keep it on. Yes. Disagree with Dirk McGurk at skill points sunk moves the medium around.
Yeah, he said disagree with me with Dirk. Sunk SP moves the medium SP per character down. It's destroyed time. It is destroyed time. Okay, but what is the consequence to the game itself? All of those characters out there that trained and are unsubbed, that's lost SP in the game, right? All of those characters out there that are subbed, still doing things, but not using the skill points that SP, if it's not doing something in the game, really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I've got mining 5 on all kinds of stuff. I don't mind. It's like that SP doesn't really exist.
Destroyed and you died.
Again, unless you're doing something that utilizes the SP, it's almost like it's not even there.
Oh, exactly. But then you train it because you were going to utilize it at the time when you trained it.
This is one of the things. This is one of the things that while lurking, I have been having side conversations with some people out there regarding that They asked me, are you going to get rid of any SP? And it's like, I might on some of on some of these real niche characters, that I have, like a super capital pilot or something like that, right? But on like the Dirk character, or even kind of my my second main, right? Mm-hmm. Certainly, I will not do it at all on the Dirk character, because every one of those skills I trained, including Defender Missiles 1 back in the day, okay, are who Dirk is.
Exactly.
And there was a reason I did it at one time. And that's part of the story of where Dirk came from, and things like that, right? So I'd never do it on him for sentimental reasons, right? But these other ones, they're just commodities. They're just commodities.
Exactly, and that's the way it is. I thought maybe I could take some out of Wiggles, not Wiggles, out of my main. So main's just hit 170 million skill points, and I can put some into Wiggles. And I'm like, well, if I want to do that, I could just buy it. I don't know. Again, Aki in the Twitch chat, it's an expensive way to increase your pilot's SP, but I think Dirk's right. What the actual consequence to the game? The consequence to the game is that, well, there isn't a consequence, it's a plus. More money has gone into CCP's pocket.
Well, there is that side of it too, but although it will be interesting to see if more, well, we won't see it. It would be interesting to know if more money legitimately is going into CCP's pocket, right? I don't have this feeling, okay, that in the long run, all right, you have more real dollars coming into the game because of this. It's just being diverted between, well, should it go to Plex or should it go to here, right? Because the real dollars come in, for the most part, in order to convert to ISK. Mm-hmm. And this is just a different path to being able to get there. Maybe there will be more, but I don't know that it's going to move the needle to some huge degree. I don't think that if what you have is, I'm just throwing a number out there, $1 million a month coming in for things like this now, that or before this, that all of a sudden it goes to like 1.5 million because people are just wanting to dump more money into the game.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see what happens. Lockfox says, I agree, Johnny Pugh's liquidation of Sir Livingston kind of broke my heart. I didn't think I could do it. Well, this is true, but remember, he wanted the skills on Johnny Pugh, not on Sir Livingston, so he put them on the character he wants to use them on, and that's, it's his choice. It's like if I
think that, what was it, Cribba's character that had the most skill points in the game up until this?
No, it wasn't Crib, it was Sutton.
Not the Cribba character
It was I think it was one of his. It was Doctor something, one of those that was at the top, and again that's just plain,
Let's say Calamos, but
yeah.
But well, anyways, look. I look at it; those were earned skill points. Okay, mm-hmm. I wish that there could be something, some little thing on that this was the guy who had trained the most skill points over time. The way that the game was played didn't buy their way to it, right? I've got no problem with there's now somebody out there, who could do something that was never going to be attainable in this game, mm-hmm. right? But now because of this new change and wealth, it can be. But I think that character, should somehow be asterisked as in terms of training, in terms of whatever. That's still the leader or whatever, but
mm-hmm. No, Lockfox just tweeted both me and you said ISK per skill point valuation is actually pretty crazy at the moment. There's some graph porn. All I'm going to say is there's some graph porn, and it's graphy, it's porny, it's like, oh, it goes up and goes down. But hey, remember, we're only just over like a week and a bit away in from it, and that's what happens. You got to remember, this is gonna normalize. Dr. Camus, that's the one. That's what it was. Yeah, Dr. Camus. You have to. It's going to nuke. It's going to level out on things, and you'll get to that steady slope that you'll see the ups and the downs and this and that. And again, plug for him as well.
Yeah, Okara's rule in game. Yeah, he said have 2 counters on the character sheet. One for trained SP and the other for injected SP.
Yeah.
I wish that was something that they had done, because what it would still allow people to do, and not so much from an intelligence standpoint of an intel standpoint of wow, this guy was obviously a newbie character that bought his way to 50 or 70 million skill points or whatever. But more along the lines of, at least it keeps that data point in there of what was really trained versus what was acquired through other means.
Yeah, I guess the way it is. And again, it comes down to it. CCP are looking at the avenues of making money coming in, because remember, and again, this happened while you were off air, Dirk, but Dust 514 rip, but
Rip.
and pepperoni, to channel Scott and Tib from Podside. But yeah, the end of the day, it was going to happen, and when that happened, I then actually said that week on this show that week, I went, that is it. PlayStation 3 is end of lifing this year. 100% about it. I'm guaranteed about it. But that's how it is. And remember,
but we were saying before about I think you made reference to consequences. I've been wondering about what the consequences of the skill point thing are, in terms of all of the stuff being stripped out there and being sold to the market, because I don't think that we've reached that farmer point yet. So this is all what people consider to be surplus, unused skill points on on their various characters, right? What were those characters doing before?
Nothing.
And why are they not doing it anymore?
Exactly.
Hold on. And why are they not utilizing it? Because again, this was a choice that was made back in the day when you either thought you were going to use it or were in fact using it, and now you're not. So I mean, I look at those skill points out there and I think about what the story is behind them. I think about maybe what activity that they were doing at one point that they no longer are, or no longer find that activity valuable to them. Characters. I think that there are characters that are vanishing out there as far as a usable character because they've been stripped for skill points. But at one point, somebody thought that character was useful. Why do they no longer think that it is useful now? What happened? What choice did they make as a player? What choice did this group of players, seem to make? And why does that matter? Does it matter at all to the game?
True. Just to point for Caleb, no. No Clay's beta invites for whatever will be what is Legion. They're not even nowhere near close to technical alpha yet. There'll be nothing for at least a year. Trust me on that, because they're having to code for a new. Well, they're coding for Unreal 4, and that for PC. Trust me, it's not going to be as simple as just port it over and work. It's going to be a long time before that happens. But anyway. Was there anything else? There was one other thing that I did put in the show doc about the cost of leadership, which was a good article this week on Crossing Zebras.
That was a thought-provoking article.
It was very good because it talked about the way of, if you are a leader in EVE, and when I say leader, I don't mean, I'm just going to go out and do, be this type of person or that type of person. If you are a leader, you're the person that, an FC, or you're what's the word? An FC. You're an alliance.
A content generator.
That's the word. A content generator. That's the word. Thank you very much. If you're that type of person out there, doing the stuff you do in game, right? Is not free, but it's free. You play your time, you pay for it. But then when you add it up to the things of like TeamSpeak and forums and Mumble, and then Slack or Jabber, and things like that, or hosting costs, and when you add
you've got those side things, okay?
Yeah.
You've got those side, what I'll call back office type costs, for some groups and things out there, right? But what this article was getting to more was, look, we all know that in EVE there is a small subset out there that are the people who cause things to happen. And there is a much bigger group of people who follow behind their, who follow their leadership. Now, whether it be corporation leadership, okay, whether it be FC-based leadership, whether it be, just anything that provokes content for others to be a part of, is it a wrong idea to think that people who are seen as being valuable to the game could find a way of being compensated? Should find a way of being compensated. Obviously, you get into the whole RMT thing, and you're paying somebody to do this, and they're deriving in-game benefit from it. Blah blah blah. But but it is a question that's been asked. I mean, when you hear about FCs who don't like to fight long wars anymore because of the mental burnout that it takes, because a lot of these things fall to such a small group of people to manage over countless hours and all of that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Might they not burn out if they, were being Patreoned in some way?
Well, again, funny. I mean, look at the burnout factor, right? I've done this show in one form or another for about 4 years, be it talk show, and I've been on Eve Radio for nearly 9 years now, right? But I've also done community stuff. For example, funnily enough, me and Dirk are wearing the Total Eve t-shirts, and pro tip, totaleve.com, go there. Very simple, very easy, and it's been rewritten from the ground up with some stuff because we had to rewrite it because fuck you, Google. There's a load of stuff on there, and we also, the New Eden Update, which is a side project we worked on, and that's the stuff that we do. And yes, okay, I run a Patreon. I have a Patreon. If you like what I do in game, and this show here, the daily updates, the podcast, the Total Eve site, and all that. If you like it and you get some value out of it, chuck some back. But I'm not saying you have to pay or anyone has to pay. I don't care. I'd still do it right now until I didn't think it was worth me doing it in value, and then I'd shut it down.
Right, but but also you look at Twitch streamers out there, right? Donations. Patreon, you could put it out there as help me cover the costs of this. But hey, you get big enough, and people are giving you money because they appreciate the content you're generating, right?
Yeah.
What this article was kind of talking about, though, is there's also that content in game, but the idea is that, gosh, what it would be wrong. It would be real money trading. It would be all of these things. To think that somebody could or potentially should be compensated for taking on the weight of more than just being a line pilot or a corporation member or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it is.
And I don't know. I mean, I am pretty sure that it would be against the EULA to sit there and pay Elo Knight to lead a war against somebody out there, or something along those lines.
It'd be against the EULA to pay him in real life cash, or say I'm going to buy you pizza or whatever.
Correct. Okay, but okay.
Pay him in
now this is. Well, hold on a second. And now this is something that wasn't covered in that article, right? What if Elo Knight was a Twitch streamer? Mm-hmm. And Elo Knight was Twitch streaming his war, and hey, if you like what I'm doing here, feel free to donate. I mean, so you've got a mixing of stuff out there where it's like, what, money is going to people for things that they're doing. And by the way, I'm not advocating this. I'm merely talking about this article.
Yeah.
From the perspective of it's a point that's it's a point that's raised.
Mm. And again, Mystic Fear in Twitch says, FCs can run fleets on Twitch and consistently and perhaps gain enough viewers to pay to get well. You could do. But remember...
So are they not, in fact, being paid for the content? I mean, yes, it's visual content for the people that are watching, but it's also content for those people that are being a part of it and whatnot. So are they not, in fact, being paid for... Are they not receiving some sort of real money that is related to their in-game... activity?
Maybe. Again, that's what it is. But then,
so is it in fact real money trading? Is it not? Is this some not really truly gray area anymore? That technology and everything else has just moved beyond the idea of paying Chinese villagers to mine for you?
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, Aki wants one of our t-shirts. Not t-shirts, he wants one of the t-shirts. I know, it's okay. But, getting back to that thing, you know what? Again, Akaris Wall, I wonder why FCs don't demand payment for their fleets. Because they're doing it for the pew-pew, for the fun of it, to go out and play games and have fun with their friends. I would not...
Well, they are, and that's where it began, right? I mean, it began by you're always going to have this smaller group that, becomes leaders, and then there's like a much bigger group of followers that are behind them, right? But then it went to like you start talking about scale. Well, I mean, you listen to guys like Elise Randolph and Lazarus Tellraven and these people who have been involved with leading long-term scale engagement wars, right? And it's like, well, why do wars not last longer than what they do? Because it's like the people who are involved with it get so damn tired and burned out.
True.
That it can't go on. And and these are guys who really aren't doing that anymore. I mean, yes, it started off smaller to where, hey, come on, guys, let's go do this. But then it got to the size and scope where it's just like, whoa, what I'm putting into this as an individual, I can't keep up.
Exactly.
I can't keep doing it long over
You're
time.
like Incy fan and says, I mean, you pay football coach or you pay a StarCraft pro. Well, yeah, but they're paid. Well, StarCraft, and StarCraft pro as well. They're paid by the team they're on, and the team has advertising and sponsors and that sort of stuff. And again, that's set out in the rules for StarCraft that Blizzard allowed to do with the streaming, and with a football coach or a baseball coach or Little League or any sort of sport, something like that. Yeah, because it's advertising. That's how they recoup costs. With EVE,
Well, hold on. And the thought here is not about would this be odd in some way in the grander or in the larger world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Compensating somebody somehow for their time. Is not unheard of in the real world.
Oh,
however,
definitely.
as it relates to EVE Online's EULA, I don't think it would be acceptable. However, I think that there are things that are getting around that out there and doing it in an acceptable way. And the question is, should it just be acceptable, period? End of story.
well, that's a conversation for CCP to have, because
And to think that nobody has been compensated in real money for doing. I mean, there's obviously stories out there, no evidence or anything like that, right? But I mean, it's probably happened at one point or another.
of course there is. There's always stuff out there. People have been paid because you wouldn't do. You wouldn't do it. You would do it for once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. Now, fuck that shit. Anyway, I think I think that's been a really good fucking show. I think we've hit the nail on the head on all the topics that we lined up, and it's been good. I think. It's the return of of the truth, of the voice of reason from his self-imposed exile.
The voice of reason. Yeah, that's fucking so far out the door at this point.
Well, no, that's the thing. You went up to the mountain, you sat there, you meditated, you looked at it, you went, let's go, we'll deal with it. So,
I lit myself on fire like a true good monk.
hey, dude, at the end of the day, everyone has their moments, and you know what? It happens. Fuck it, it's life, man. If you can't enjoy your life a little bit, is it worth it? It's always worth it. It's always worth enjoying your fucking life. So, I would say, Dirk, you got anything to plug? Because always this time of the show, at the end of the show, I give people time to plug things. Do you want to plug anything, Dirk?
I'll be back on Open Comms beginning of March. So. Mm-hmm. And and I'll be back here. I mean, again, love talking about Eve. Love the Eve world. Love the Eve universe. It's again, try as hard as I might to find something else. Okay, New Year's Day, I was done with this game. I was done with this game. I had shit myself and I was done. And I tried to find something else out there. Literally tried. I mean, and I there's nothing else out there. This is, again, it's not a game.
There's the thing. Hold on, it's not a game. Is it a service? I don't want to start that. I don't
know that it's.
I'm not
gonna, again, I go back to the simulator thing and and all that kind of stuff. Eve is super deep. It is super deep. It's as deep as you want it to be, and that's what's nice about the flexibility of of it is that for casual players, there's stuff for you to do. Undock, go shoot something. Undock, go mine. Dock up. Whatever. Right. For other people. There are so many layers to Eve, that it keeps you drawn in. Each one of those layers builds upon the next, and you can go as deep into it, and it gets pretty freaking psycho. I mean,
Exactly.
It is not healthy in a lot of ways. Let me tell you.
It's the game. Remember, it's a game. It's a hobby. It's everything. And at the end of the day, right? As I said before, it's a computer game, and remember. That is what it boils down to. If you boil it down to its component parts, it's a social computer game.
Ned Thomas tweeted out something yesterday or the day before, and then he ended up writing a blog about it, where Eve was like on this top 10 list of like the most complex games or something out there. Eve was number 2.
Yeah.
But when you read kind of the description of why they ranked it number 2, I don't think it fully took it into account. Of what makes Eve truly complex. What makes Eve truly complex is not kind of the amount of data that's poured at you and things like that. Those are all hurdles. Those are all things that, you know what, you learn to adapt to over time and you learn to utilize as you need to and things like that, building with spreadsheets and all that. It's all about player decision making. It's all about how my decisions could impact your decisions and how the aggregate of all decisions out there, because it gets to what Caleb just said. Eve is real. Okay, Eve mimics real world in so many different ways. Exactly. And you know what? Real life is hard. And this game takes into account this whatever it is takes into account so many of all of those decisions that that impact each and every one of us in some way. The whole butterfly effect thing and all that. But come on, we're not Dwarf Fortress.
No, we're not Dwarf Fortress. And then you know what? If it turns into Dwarf Fortress or turns into fucking Candy Crush Saga or Soda, please, somebody shoot me now. Really?
Yeah. I mean, all of these things, mechanic changes and all that, it's all great. It's not what makes Eve hard, okay? What makes Eve, and I don't want to say hard, complex, is what we all choose to do with the myriad of levers that we can pull for ourselves, as well as affect others in the game.
Exactly.
The markets, how you PvP, what you mine, all of these things, the meta of the meta.
The meta of the meta of the meta. And then whether or not you're Matani's best friend. Well, anyway. I think that's pretty much going to about do it for us for this week. If you are listening, thank you for listening live and watching live. If you have done on Eve Radio. Thank you to Kalen187 for following as well. He's just been notified on the stream. Thank you for listening in post. If you want to find out past shows and episode notes for this show, go to show.gamingradio.net. For everything else that I do, you can find that either at totaleve.com, your one-stop shop for basically everything for Eve dashboard wise, or the daily podcast of the New Eden update.com. I do know that I missed 2 episodes this week, but I did do armchair updates because A, one day there was nothing going on, and B, the other day it was just too busy to do stuff. It's called real life. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening. Follow, subscribe, well, not subscribe, follow if you can. Music's coming up more on Eve Radio right now, so the music's going to carry on. But Twitch, if you want to carry on listening, eve-radio.com. That's where that's going to be. My thanks to Dirk for actually saying that he'd do it and actually coming back. My hat is off to you, sir. If I had a hat, I would take it off.
What the fuck is your hat?
Well, I don't have a hat.
If I had a hat, and you died.
I'm going to put a DVD. Look, my DVD is off to you. There you go, sir. Yeah, whatever. Thank you to Avalon for following as well. I said music will be back. I'm going to play Dirk's theme song now, Return of the Mac, Mark Morrison, in full on Eve Radio. So if you want to hear it, go there.